To Breakfast Daily on City TV. Now you can hashtag Breakfast Daily or you can send a WhatsApp message on 0550-585832. Now let's get into a chat with our personality of the day, and he's a politician. He's also a connoisseur of reggae music, from what I understand. His name is Ras Mubarak, and he's joining us here for Personality Profile on Breakfast Daily. Good morning, Ras.
Cocky, good morning. It's good to see you.
What?
It's good to see you.
I like how you said that.
Yes,
it's good to see you.
You said that like someone who likes reggae music. You know what I'm saying? It's good to see you too.
Nice dreadlocks.
People see the locks and they think I must be like
Bob
a reggae file, and I'm so not.
Where are yours? Where are your locks?
Mine are all gone.
Gone for a while.
But why though?
Well, I'm sure you can see I'm balding.
Okay, there's that.
Was it because of politics?
So it's in the family.
Okay.
You know, and every now and then.
But so you got rid of the dreads because of
the
Bill
natural
Passing
laws.
not because you were in the
No,
public eye.
God got rid of the dreads.
All right, cool, no problem. But that
was like, so this is when I actually started growing locks.
Oh, this is the beginning of
This
it.
is the beginning.
Okay. Nice.
Oh man,
All
radio
right.
days.
So take us back a little bit. Where'd you grow up?
So I'm a Kumasi boy.
Oh, wow.
If you like, you call me Otiko Kosonana.
Okay.
Wow.
You know, born in Tamale, grew up in Kumasi,
Okay.
Abu Abu and Sipetimpom,
Okay.
to be precise.
Okay.
I like to call myself a barracks boy as well because back in Tamale, started school at Kamina Barracks.
Okay.
You know Kamina?
I know Kamina.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, I lived in Tamale for a few. So when I meet people who live there, I try to show off a little bit.
You know, as a young kid, I'd always admired, you know, men and women in uniform, and I thought I would get a career in the army. But unfortunately, they said I was too short.
Oh yeah.
And I got disqualified
I see.
because of that. But I've always had enormous admiration and respect for men and women in uniform. I mean, they're serving our country greatly, you know, and we have to support them and encourage as many people as possible,
Yeah.
you know, to serve. You know, if I had my way, you know, everyone who's finishing secondary school or uni would have to go through some paramilitary training.
Like Nigeria.
No, I agree.
You know, to instill a sense of discipline. Because one of the challenges of our country is the lack of discipline. Whether in the schools or on our roads, look at the extent of road rage we have.
Yes.
People are impatient, you know, and the likes of it, you know. So there's a lot that we can do to make. I mean, this is the best place to be honest with you. I've done almost 60 countries around the world, you know, and each time I'm away, you know, I'm yearning to just get back to GH.
And you love GH. Okay. Now, all right. So your hopes and dreams of becoming a military man were dashed, but did you always think you'd be in the public eye in some way, shape, or form outside of that?
Not really. Not really. Even though I ended up with a career in broadcasting, you know, having worked with GBC for over a little over a decade, you know, both for radio and TV. I got tired of reporting and editing what the politicians were saying, you know, year in, year out. Oh, we'll fix that flat situation. You know, so I felt, why not? I mean, let me roll up my sleeve and get involved. But at some point, I also felt if I hadn't left, I probably would have been fired because I was becoming more and more critical.
Of the
goings on in the country, you know, and being with a state broadcaster, you know how things are run, you know.
You have to tread cautiously.
And if, you know, but these are some of the things. I mean, as stakeholders, and I keep saying we are stakeholders in the development of our country, you know, and we have a duty to give praise where praise is due, and to point out the issues and get them, you know, to be fixed when they need fixing. I mean, look at the traffic situation in Accra. I was just telling someone yesterday that it looks like traffic in 2022 has gotten worse.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, but
I
mean,
think
it's
so.
incredible. And you don't see any form of long-term planning because it's not resurfacing and redoing the roads. That's not what the solution is. The solutions lie in opening up the roads, looking at alternatives. So you're looking at monorail, you're looking at an underground system.
Yeah.
Something that 30 years from now our kids and grandchildren could say,
benefit from
okay,
yeah.
I mean, our forebears made some sacrifices. Imagine what would have happened but for Nkrumah's vision of doing the motorway. And at the time Nkrumah did the motorway, people were critical and saying that how many cars do we have in Ghana? Now look at how well the motorway has served us. So city planning is a problem in Ghana. And it's sad that administrations in, administrations out, we seem not to really look beyond the next elections.
All right. But I'm curious, though. How do you go from someone who is critical of the status quo and tired of politicians and their rhetoric to someone who actually becomes a politician?
Yeah, because, I mean, if you don't get involved in fixing it, then you are a part of the problem.
So what was that transition like?
So for me, it was seamless. I mean, even back at GBC, I would monitor proceedings in Parliament here, proceedings in Westminster. I would I write very, very well. For those who know me, one of my greatest assets is, writing. And it was seamless, except that people thought, wait a minute, isn't that the guy with dreadlocks on TV doing jamming reggae? Okay. So there was that initial hesitance in the minds of people whether this guy was serious.
Right.
But then when I launched my campaign, people said, oh, wait a minute. The guy seemed to know what he's doing.
He's talking about, okay. And did you always know it would be NDC for you?
No, I mean, I've always been leftist. Haven't been inspired by Kwame Nkrumah, Malcolm X, Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and all the left-leaning leaders of the world. It's in the blood, I can't see myself as capitalist.
I get it. If it's that binary, yes, I get it.
Yeah.
These days, the lines seem to be blurring a bit.
The lines are quite blurred.
So I was going to actually come to that and ask you that. What do you make of the should I say, criticism that some of the left-leaning peoples don't, or so should I say, they've left the space for the right-leaning people to actually do more leftist things?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, some of our policies in government, and I served in government, were more of right-leaning stuff. So there's got to be clarity on where we're standing. The NDC is a left-of-center party. We've got to be known for that. We've got to be notorious for that without apology. But when we cede that space to our opponents, then it brings confusion in the minds, of people. And with in respect of our manifestos, future manifestos, is one of those things that we have to really pay attention to. Politics that would make us stand out. People want things that are unique. They see who you are. Okay, apart from her looks, you've got unique qualities about you. They see David, they know, here's a guy with a great voice. We've got to stand out. Otherwise, we give the floating voter like yourselves, less opportunity to determine where to lend your support.
Place their thumbprints.
But I'm sure it's clear now, and you know where you're voting in the next elections.
Okay, all right.
So you took us back where you grew up in, you call yourself a barracks boy. You grew up in Tamale, and then
But I was very
Kumasi.
notorious. I was very bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Bad in what sense?
Bad in Aswadi.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I remember one time, I don't know if she's still around. Miss Bauer, she was my teacher, primary. I was probably about 9 or 10-year-old kid. Then I got lashed in school, and those days I don't know about today, they used the cane. So after school I gathered a few colleagues of mine, and we started pelting her with stones.
Wow.
I'm not proud of that.
Wow. As a 10-year-old.
As a 10-year-old.
Wow.
I mean, I was that bad.
Where were your parents?
So was this in Tamale or in Kumasi?
This was in Tamale.
Okay.
This was Kamina Barracks. I was so rebellious.
Wow. What do you think that temperament and those character traits have done for you coming forward? Because I know that we are who we are, and in essence, sometimes it's just a matter of a refining or a redirecting of some of those things, and then it becomes something really positive.
Oh, I'm a completely different person from that 10-year-old who wouldn't take his teacher, caning him in class. And I hadn't, done something really bad. I still remember this vividly. She felt I was a bit cocky. Even
And she wanted to level you.
She wanted to level me. So I'm like, no, if I'm answering all your questions, you shouldn't pick up on me. So I've always been that child, that person who knows what he's about and would defend it to the hilt.
Okay.
But I'm definitely not violent. If
But you're still confident.
if your mind is wandering, but to God be the glory. Moving to live in Kumasi with my uncle, the great Alhaji Muhammad, was an exciting transition.
Okay.
And, he instilled in me my values today.
Okay.
Great sense of discipline. I mean, this was somebody who was not lettered in the Western education type. But you have a meeting with him at 10 and he's there at 10 o'clock.
Wow.
We don't have that today. Even if it's business, people are coming late and they're making excuses.
Yes.
And I didn't even know he wasn't educated until later, because I'll come back from school, and that's the one thing that parents don't do as well. What the kids are learning in school. I come back from school, he would say to regurgitate what I learned in school.
Wow.
And I would have to think through the things that I had learned, and actually, because I had a fear that if I didn't tell him the right things, I probably would get a beating, for not paying attention in class. But, I mean, the mere thought that I would come home and my parents or my guardian would ask me, "What did you learn in school?" For me, was
Wow.
okay.
What
So
are we
that's
looking at there?
so that's me on the left of the screen.
Okay.
That's my dad, and that's my younger sister.
Okay.
She works with UDS currently.
Okay.
And that's my elder sister. She lives in London now.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how old were you in this picture? About?
This was 80, I think 84, 85, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Was this before or after the stone pelting incident?
This must have been after.
Oh, yeah.
The stone pelting incident must have been after this.
Oh, after.
yeah.
Must
So you
have
were
been after
younger
this.
here.
I was
you were
young.
younger
I was
here.
much younger. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So Kumasi, you learned a lot.
Kumasi, I
your
learned a
uncle.
lot. A sense of community. Because he was always getting involved with the community. Something is broken in the community. How do we fix it?
Okay.
You don't wait for government to come and weed.
Yeah.
The path to your home.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. You don't get that these days. I mean, even as a politician, I complain every now and then. You go to the constituency, you want people to do things for themselves, and they're like, okay, Mami no kufio.
Yeah.
What is in it for me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Charlie.
So these are things that we need to bring back. Because when you talk about development, it's not just the roads and the schools and the hospitals, but there are soft aspects of development, like patriotism, like, you know, discipline, like a sense of volunteerism and stuff like that. And these are things, oh, good morning, sir, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, how are you? You know, politeness.
Yes.
You don't see that today. I mean, look at what's happening in social media. We've assumed a culture that is un-Ghanaian, where people would run down elders without thinking twice about it.
Yeah.
People they don't know, people who could help build them, you know, and they will run them down either because of religious differences or political differences and stuff like that. You can be critical, you can make your points clear without being insulting. You know, so amongst our young people, you see a lot of these stuff, and it's not healthy for us as a country. You know, I talk a lot. I'm a broadcaster.
No, it's good.
So I'm a radio person.
Yeah.
You know, you have to fill the void.
Yes.
There are times when your music is, you know, delaying, so you have to talk. So if you don't stop me,
there cannot be dead space. But no, we're interested in what you're saying.
No, I want to find out. So, at what point did you transition secondary school, university? Where did you go to university?
Okay, so I studied so from Kamina Barracks to Calvarian International to IBM&J to London School of Journalism to the University of Oslo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So uni was mostly outside the country?
Yes.
Okay.
Largely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you miss not doing university in Ghana? Or do you feel like you missed out?
I've never really had a feel of what it is.
Okay.
You know, what tertiary education feels like in Ghana. So for something that you've never felt.
You've never experienced it, so it's not anything.
There's no sense of missing. You know. But I'm grateful also for the opportunities. You know, because you get to have quality education in terms of what you get. And every now and then you wish that the facilities. Recently, I was in Dallas in the States and had to accompany a friend to see his child in a high school.
Okay.
My goodness, if you look at the facilities.
At a high school level.
At a high school level.
Yeah.
You know, the library, you know, the sporting facilities. You know, if I'm not mistaken, the stadia they had was probably well equipped than Baba Yara Sports Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah, because they take high school sports.
No, they take it seriously. Very seriously. Yeah, that's true.
People get recruited.
You know?
Yeah.
Like
so,
professionals.
and these are things that keep me awake at night.
Okay, they keep you awake at night. At a point, those things took you to Parliament, right?
Yes.
Now, tell us about your first foray in Parliament. You win the election, you're coming to State House, you're happy, you're excited to represent Kumbungu as their new MP.
Okay, so my first shot at Parliament was in Ablekuma, if you remember.
Yes.
Here in Accra.
Here in Accra.
You know, we had an exciting campaign in Ablekuma. It didn't work out. We moved back home to Kumbungu, campaigned heavily, you know, on issues of representing them better, you know. So for me, by the time I got to Parliament, I was ready.
Okay.
Because my third day in Parliament, I was already on my feet, you know, making a statement. You know, by the time people could find their bearing, which office is, I was already, you know.
You hit the ground running.
I was already.
So what was it that contributed to that? What was it that made you so ready that by the third day...
In everything that you put your mind to, you've got to prepare.
Okay.
You know, so for this broadcast, you've done your background research, you know, your producers had fed you information. It's all preparation. And on radio and TV, that's what we get taught. You know, that you don't bring in a guest in the studio without
prepping.
Without preps. And getting into politics, I knew it may land you in a position where you would have enormous responsibility, so you have to prepare.
Yes.
And I could say that I've read not less than 50 memoirs of leaders and politicians who've either been prime ministers or presidents or kings across the world.
Wow.
You know, these kinds of things prepare you because you learn about their mistakes, you learn about their strengths, you learn about the things they're getting right.
But
you know,
I don't get the sense that everyone has the same level of dedication to being MPs.
yes,
As you are describing.
That's an exciting observation because over here in Ghana, people, fight to be MPs because they don't like Kokui's face. But you've been there too long.
Yeah.
You know, go let me also come.
Yeah.
Come to do what?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why you find people in Parliament who simply don't know what they're doing. So it's a waste of
everybody's time.
Waste of state resources, because in terms of adding value to nation building, you don't get that. You have a handful of people in Parliament who are making all the contributions, whether it is bills, whether it's debates or whatever. So that is a deficient. And I think the parties would have to take it upon themselves to screen. If you're putting candidates up for elections, not just candidates with a deep pocket, but they've got to be candidates who would be ready, because they're seeking to be in government.
Yeah.
And the Constitution says you've got to appoint majority of your ministers from Parliament.
Yes.
So the quality of people you put in Parliament is
Impacts
critical.
on you, yeah.
Not just, not just education-wise, but in terms of even real-life experiences. So that right from day one, if they happen to be ministers or deputies, they wouldn't waste your time not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And as Chief Executive Officer, we whether as MP or Chief Executive Officer, we did some landmark things. If you look at the NYA, for 40 years, funding for the NYA's activities was a problem. We came in there, President Mahama thankfully gave us an opportunity, and we said, look, the status quo has to change.
Yeah.
Because the Youth Authority would need resources to finance youth activity. But if you go to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, it was all about football, and not just all football, it was Black Stars.
Yeah.
It's still...
So they use all the... Well, now, thanks to the effort and to the new bill that we passed into law, the NY has a lot of resources. So if they are not using it to support youth development, that would be unfortunate. In Parliament, first MP to sponsor successfully a private member's bill, I'm proud about it.
Wow.
I'm so proud about that. That I went to Parliament and I didn't let down the people of Kumbungu.
Yeah.
You see gaps in our laws.
Yes.
Yep.
We've got to fill those gaps. Some of our laws are redundant. So if you're in Parliament and not thinking about some of these things, then you have no business being there.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that people's criticism of Parliament and parliamentarians is fair and justified? You've been in there.
Some are.
Some are, some are not.
Some are not. For instance, they'll tell you, oh, you're riding in V8 and all of that. Okay. So the reality is that there are three arms of government.
Yeah.
The executive arm of government gets taken care of very well. And I've served in the executive. As Chief Executive Officer, I had a Land Cruiser, I had a saloon car, I had a pickup, all fueled by the state, maintained by the state, insured by the state. As an MP, you buy your Land Cruiser on your salary.
Okay.
To do the public work.
Okay.
Okay, you fuel it, so you keep hearing every now and then, and you get free fuel. No MP gets free fuel.
So
Explain
the
that to us. So
about the car loans and all of that, you think it's a bit unfair?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
My constituency is in Kumbungu,
Yes.
in the north of Ghana.
Yes.
To go to Kumbungu by road, if I want to be very careful on the road, I'll do 12 hours.
Okay.
Now tell me which saloon car
Will
survive this even for 2 years without completely going off the road.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
point.
about the idea of running a pool of, say, 30 SUVs that if you need to go out, you book one and you go? There's a driver, it's fueled.
That would not work because people have different times that they go to their constituencies.
Yes.
Somebody lives in Accra. Okay. He's in his constituency every day. somebody lives in somebody's constituency is in Paga at the border. He doesn't have the luxury to go there because by the time he even gets there, it's almost Monday.
That's
With
true.
all due deference to the people in Paga, it's so far. So if you're going to pool, you would inconvenience people. But there is something that we can do to save everybody. That is the ex gratia. I think if somebody gets re-elected, then you don't have to pay them ex gratia.
Because your term hasn't, or your time in Parliament hasn't
because
ended.
you have a job.
Yes.
You know how when you get into politics and into Parliament, if you're not doing your own thing when you leave Parliament, like some of us, you even struggle to get, some form of employment because you're seen as politically tainted. So the ex gratia should be seen as something to support those who've left Parliament. Okay, but you've done 6 terms in Parliament, and each term you're taking ex gratia.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm not saying this because I've left Parliament. I've said this even while I was an MP. Okay, so that's where we can make a lot of savings. My colleagues don't agree with me, and they don't agree for obvious reasons.
Nobody wants to agree to
so
give up
it takes
good money.
the public, and I keep saying we have enormous power as Ghanaians. Look at the no cause day thing that we're doing. You're getting hard done by. You're not getting quality service, and it should not be okay. Okay, it should not be okay for an MP or a politician to be in government or Parliament and not serve your best interests as a Ghanaian.
Okay, Ras. Now we're a bit short on time, but I have to do this to you.
I told you.
I have to do this to you. Okay.
30 minutes is not enough for.
It's not enough. Don't worry. But let's talk marriage.
Oh.
Now.
Okay.
She's gone there.
She's gone there.
You are married.
Yes, I am.
You've been married.
Yes.
And you talked about the fact that you're a good writer. And we've seen some of your write-ups on this topic of marriage, or should we say former marriage or divorce or separation. Okay. Now, being in the public eye and with people having a certain regard of you, about you, and you were quite silent for a while on some of the things that were being said about you for a long time, right? Then you decided to come out and set the record straight according to your side of the story. Did you feel that was really necessary, especially since you had been silent for so long? And what is it like having to have your marital woes played out in public like that, especially for someone like yourself?
So my silence for that number of years was something that I did because of my kids, because of where I find myself. Once you're in the public eye, you don't turn around and look at anyone who throws a pebble or a stone at you. Otherwise, you go crazy. Okay? But it gets to a point where your credibility is on the line. When somebody for 5 years says you are an abuser, and they've had an opportunity to make their case in court and they run away from it, and every opportunity they call you an abuser, because you're in the public eye, people would want to, because every now and then you see people picking up on you and saying, oh, but you're a wife beater. I felt for my honor and for my name, and I guard my credibility is all I have. And some of us are still in this country because we are untainted, either by corruption or by anything. So if somebody's throwing mad and making a deliberate attempt a consistent attempt to run me down, I have a duty to myself to protect what I've spent years building. A good name doesn't come easy.
No, it doesn't.
So as painful as it was something that needed to be done.
There was something in one of the papers today, an article called 36 Things to Know About Divorce. What have you learned in all of this that you would share with someone who's maybe contemplating or going through something like that? What you've learned through marriage and divorce?
A colleague of mine was saying that, look, if you do not want to go through divorce as a man, you have to say yes to everything. Whether it's rubbish, whether it's just say yes. But I thought, at some point as the man, you've got to be responsible for certain key decisions about the family, because you are the breadwinner. So you should have a say in how the family is run. You know, there are things you should, on trivial things, you should obviously
Let
keep
go.
quiet about them, you know. But on critical things, where the kids go to school, you know, on which dress the person who is your spouse even wears out.
You feel it's important to weigh in on
Especially,
that.
yes.
You think
Es-
that's your call?
Especially if you're in the public eye. Now, I don't want my wife dressed half naked,
Okay.
right?
That's fair.
No disrespect to anyone who is dressing half naked. But for somebody in the public eye, you've got to be. Because if you don't put checks and balances on it, you wouldn't be able to go to your community and advise students to mind what they're dressing. And I keep saying that, look, it's. I mean, you can dress nicely and still look beautiful. You know, you doesn't have to expose your backside to, you know, for people to see that you've arrived. You know, this doesn't have to be all out there. You know, for people to patronize you. So there are things that you can say, wait a minute, babe, I think I like to spoil my women.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you know, so I'm the type who would travel and buy the nicest perfume and buy the nicest bags and all of that, you know, just to make them feel good. But on the critical things, you should stamp your authority as the man.
So it's important to have a good sense of a life partner before, if you think you're going to have a life or a career in the public eye, or in general, I guess. To
be honest with you, I'm not even the right guy to give. you should be asking some man in cassock or some imam.
But you actually are, because you've been through it. You know, I think more men need to speak about
I agree.
relationships and marriage. And
What I think we should be doing is to take our time, get to know our
Yes.
partners, delaying a lot of things,
okay.
you know, but get to know your partner very well, so that you don't go in and see marked differences, because a lot of time that's what brings about the conflict. You know,
You're experiencing something you didn't expect.
Exactly.
Because you probably didn't inspect well enough before you went in.
So people should take their time. But it's interesting because in our parents' time and in our grandparents' time, you know, marriages were even fixed.
Yeah,
Yes.
arranged.
And arranged.
Arranged,
And to be honest, they lasted longer than anything.
Well, the orientation was different.
a different dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, it was a
was
very
going
different
on there.
dynamic.
You know,
So
Women were
probably
taught that
you accept
you
everything.
accept
I mean,
everything.
you know,
What your
and all of
husband
that.
says goes.
You
You
know.
keep the home, peaceful. Women were a lot more, in the literal sense of the word, submissive. You
Yeah.
know, it was a different time, a different.
but it made the marriages work. So we've got to
It made the women tolerate marriage.
Because you see, the kids' best interest is paramount.
Okay. But I think the general well-being of the individuals within the family setup
Yeah.
is paramount. So at the end of the day, if the well-being of any of the members of the unit is being compromised, then, you know, we have to figure out how do we resolve this so
Yeah.
that
As a family.
as a family,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
everybody, you know's well-being is being considered,
Absolutely,
you know.
absolutely.
So yeah.
We'll have
Anyway,
relationship
we need to
segments
do-
with Ras Mubarak.
Listen, we need to recommend to the upside down team.
You see,
Yeah, the upside down team need to have him on
part 2.
And
You know, he was on.
I was
he
on,
was on there
a couple of years ago.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, on last year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's been
remember.
a while back.
It's
Yeah.
So we need to do a part
We
2.
need to do part 2.
We need to do a part 2.
Relationship
With
topics,
Remind,
though.
Yeah, and the 94.
And
Yeah.
94, yeah.
Fantastic.
But I mean, congratulations to you. You know that you married again, as I said, and you seem happy and you're doing well. Any plans on being a parliamentarian again?
Oh yes, I mean it's like, I mean, politics is an addiction. It's like
It must
drugs.
be.
He's got no problems with take twos.
Once you are hooked,
Once you're hooked,
once
you're in there.
you're hooked.
Yeah.
You know, so is this burning? I mean, not for the excitement of the or for the perks, but it's an opportunity to make a difference, to serve.
Okay.
You know, I pick my kids from school, you know, every now and then, and I mean, as young as they are, 11, 8, and 5,
Okay.
Wow.
talk about the ills. Oh, daddy, this kid shouldn't be out there, selling stuff.
So they are aware.
So, as a parent, it's embarrassing. Because I'm part of the political class, even though I wouldn't take ultimate responsibility, but we have to keep pushing to make our country better. To get kids off the streets, to protect women more. I would like to see more helplines for women. I would like to see more shelters for women, because these things are really happening in our communities. I'd like to see more openness and more professionalism with the police. A lot of the time, the women would go and complain to the police, and they would deride. I mean, that is completely unacceptable. So, the police should be very, very professional. I'd like to see some discipline on our roads. The road rage is killing Ghanaians unnecessarily. I mean, you go to any of these advanced countries, and the accident rate is very low. Recently, on one of my trips, so I use an international driver's license as well. So wherever I find myself, I want to drive, either rent a car, drive, and have the experience. And then my friend whose car I had used in the US called me, said, "Hey, Ras, you gave me bill, so you remember that day that we were driving that, you drove beyond the speed limit? Well, there's a letter. There's a letter.
Oh, wow.
And this was like, I think it was about 40, and I probably did about 43, 42.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
They didn't even give much leeway.
$250.
That's right.
Wow.
Next
Oh,
time.
yeah, dollars.
Wow.
Okay? And it's making everybody comport themselves on the road. So you have to stay within the speed limit.
Yeah.
Go to school zones. I mean, cars shouldn't be knocking down kids in school, kids from school.
Yeah.
So there are places where schools are located.
Yeah.
So you mark them as school zones. You put speed limits with officers or camera. Any driver who goes, flouts, you make sure
they pay for it.
They pay for it. And elsewhere, you get fined heavily.
Yeah.
So you see good cars and they are literally crawling on the road because they don't want to be saddled with bills. And I'm thinking, look, there's so much revenue we can raise and not depend on e-levy.
You see where he's going. But you're right.
You
saw what City was doing.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Imagine the amount of money you would make from indisciplined drivers on the road, people who are breaking speed limits and who are driving recklessly, killing people. If you look at the law I promoted to get passed in Parliament, one of them is to protect pregnant women and their unborn babies.
Okay.
'Cause I had an incident in my area where a pregnant woman was knocked down by a vehicle. The baby died. Little regard was given to the fact that the person had lost a baby. So I looked at the law. Is there any recourse for somebody like that? There's nothing in the law.
Wow.
So we got it plucked. So now if you're a driver or a motor rider, bicycle rider, and you injure a pregnant woman, the baby dies or the baby gets injured, not only are you going to be, if the baby dies, so you get charged for murder.
Okay, good.
If the woman passes on, you get charged for killing two people.
Okay, fantastic.
I mean, that is how seriously I want us to deal with some of our laws to protect lives. Because it's an unborn child. You don't know whether that child is going to be
the next president
or the next
20 years, 30 years, 40
David
years.
or the next, Kokwe. You never know. So,
Ras,
thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's where we've come, how far we've come.
Thank you.
And we want to go back to Parliament and do more of some of these things.
Looking forward to seeing you back.
But I miss radio and TV, to be honest.
Yeah, I can tell. You look very comfortable in this chair. We need to make
on a holiday.
That's for me. I'm looking forward to holiday.
You should call you.
I am definitely looking forward to holidays where I can have you back.
We'll call you.
Yeah.
Come join. Ras Mubarak, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Always
indeed. It's been a pleasure.
All the best.
All right. Well, we've had our time with It wasn't enough, but
At all.
we'll take it like that. It's our time with Ras Mubarak. Don't go anywhere. Breakfast.